welcome to another episode of Inside to Science. This is your host, Hannah.
And I'm Miriam, and today we have a super interview with Miss Kelsey.
Woo!
Enjoy!
I'm Lily, and I'm interviewing one of the best chemistry teachers there is. So, could you introduce yourself?
Yep, I'm Miss Kelsey, so I'm the head of science, and I've been a chemistry teacher here now for this is my 5th year. And anyone that knows me knows that I just love chemistry. Mr. Ian thinks I'm really sad.
Miss, what are your specialties and leadership aspects that you hold in the school?
So my specialty is chemistry, so I've only really ever taught chemistry. I teach all 3 sciences to Key Stage 3, which unfortunately biology is my lowest favourite of the sciences, but I need to teach them all anyway. And in terms of leadership, I've had different opportunities here. So I was the head of Key Stage for 3 years, the head of chemistry, and now I've moved to head of science because I miss science so much.
So how long have you been in the science field?
So in the science field, so I started university in science in 2007. So I then did my undergrad, which was 5 years. Then I did a master's that was 18 months, then took a little break for a bit, and then did my teaching qualification. And during that, I kind of worked in different bits and pieces in science, so for a long time.
Okay. So what got you interested in science at school, and did you have any inspirational science teacher to look up to?
Yeah, so actually my chemistry teacher was amazing, and I don't know now if I look back, I can't really remember a lot of how he taught or the way he taught, but he was such like a nice person, and he was always really approachable. So he would tell us stuff about his life. He would ask us like, did we have a nice weekend? He would ask us about like, oh, did you see that movie? So I think I just always remembered him as being the inspirational teacher that I always had, and he was just so open about his experiences that then made us feel comfortable. So then I really liked my chemistry lessons, and then I was really willing to work hard for him, do extra work, and be around the chemistry department more. So in terms of inspirational teachers, my chemistry teacher, Mr. Fleming, was definitely one of those.
Okay. And how did you decide that you wanted to study science further on?
Actually, it was really strange. So I really wanted input from my parents, but in some way I was really lucky. My parents, I sat with my options form, and my parents said, what do you enjoy? And put on your form what you enjoy. And I was like, yeah, but what do you want me to do? And they were like, no, what do you enjoy? So I got really open choice about what I wanted to pick. And I really loved science. I loved experiments, and I loved finding stuff out. I loved telling people because I always thought it made me sound really smart when I was out around with my friends about stuff that I knew was happening or stuff that I could explain. So that's really what I enjoyed in science. And unfortunately, I am from the generation where the forensic science programs took off, your CSIs, your NCISs, etc. And I loved those programs so much. I used to watch them all the time. So they really I was like, oh yes, this is what science is like. So that's why I wanted to go down the science route.
So what was the most challenging aspect of science or chemistry for you in school?
So actually my best subject was maths. So the subject that I found the easiest and had to put as the less revision time in for was maths. I just took to maths really easily. But because I enjoyed science, that's why I wanted to do it, even though it wasn't like my best, easiest subject. So the challenges I found was that trying to balance the fact that I really wanted to do these subjects when I went to university or do careers, etc. But it wasn't what I was naturally really good at. So I could use aspects of maths and chemistry and maths and physics, but it was having to really focus on like what I was good at and how I could use that to make sure my chemistry grades were high enough for what I wanted to do.
So what course or major did you do in university?
So in my undergrad, I just did chemistry with analytical chemistry. So I did all the pure chemistry, inorganic, physical, organic, and then I did like specialist modules in analytical chemistry because that linked to forensic science, which I was totally in love with at the time. My master's is in forensic science, and I did some ballistics, firearms and fire investigation work, and then I did my teaching qualification just in science.
And what did you enjoy the most about studying those in university?
To be honest, the undergraduate was really hard because you had to study every aspect of chemistry, and I didn't enjoy all of them. I'm sorry, Mr. Stephen, but I hated computational chemistry, which was basically modelling stuff on a computer program. It wasn't for me. So that was really difficult. So I enjoyed being in the labs. I got to do 3 hours of labs 4 days a week. And I got to use loads of fancy equipment that cost millions of pounds. I got all those opportunities from that. So my favourite thing about moving to university was definitely the practical opportunities you get that are so much more expansive than the little things we get to do in school.
So have you had any jobs or done any research in the science field before you did teaching?
Yeah, so within my undergrad I did research in nanoparticle science, and it actually linked to cancer diagnostics and biology. So I got to make nanoparticles that hold proteins that can target cancer, so I did some research there. I also worked for the Scottish Police Authority as part of their forensics department, doing some research on gunshot residue and using scanning electron microscopy to identify gunshot particles and look at travel distance, which actually needed more physics than I thought it would. So yeah.
So how did you manage to balance workload and stress through school and university, and if you have any advice for the students watching?
I found it really hard. So I've had a job since I was 16. So I worked in Pizza Hut while I was at school, and then when I was at university I continued to work at Pizza Hut because I needed money to buy like books and resources and things like that, travelling into uni. So I found it really difficult to manage, and the best way I found was really like structuring my time, because what I found was, and I don't know about you guys, when I was studying for like my equivalent of GCSEs, I just wasted time when I was studying. I would like say I'm going to study for like 3 hours and I would just stare at a book, or I would like put music on and just kind of look at my past papers for a while. And it took a really long time for me to find strategies that worked for me, and the best thing for me was setting like little targets. So if I'm going to study chemistry for an hour, I would say I'm going to do chemistry for an hour, and I'm going to make sure I've done 10 exam questions on this specific topic and have it marked in that hour. And I found that really useful. So having really small, smart targets for each little study session made sure that I actually it was like, oh yeah, I've achieved that, yay! And I could give myself a little pat on the back for doing that. But until I kind of got that system, my revision techniques were questionable at best, and it took me a while to get to using that time effectively and not having to sit up to 3 in the morning the day before an exam.
Yeah. So any science training that you did before, how do you use it now currently?
I think actually in terms of what I use more now is when I was teacher training, and it was seeing like loads of different chemistry teachers teaching chemistry in different ways, because if you speak to chemistry teachers or any teacher, you're taught a specific way of doing things, and then that's how you would teach it. But not everybody learns the same. So one of the most valuable experiences I had when I was training actually came from there, and how I could use the knowledge that I'd gained at university to adapt like maybe 3 or 4 strategies for like you guys learning chemistry. So it wasn't just a one routine fits everybody. There was like different strategies for people. So that's where I could link what I knew to how you guys would perceive it in the classroom.
Okay. And finally, do you have any science jokes?
I actually don't, which is really scary. I have loads in my brain, and normally I whip out some good science songs. So if you've never looked up chemistry songs on YouTube, that's where to go. But let me just, I looked up some on my way here, and I found this one here. Have you lost an electron? You've got to keep an eye on it. There you go, see? Oh yeah, that was my favourite one I found on the way to the interview today.
Fine, thank you so much for this, Miss.
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you for listening. Thank you guys, well done.
And that's all for today's episode, you guys. So Mariam, who do we put next?
Well, next we have a special interview with Miss Charlotte.
Woo! See you guys next episode. Bye!